Welcome back to CSM TV. We're back and we're working on the Galant today. I got a few things we got to do, a bunch of maintenance items, a couple upgrades. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into it. So we got a bunch of maintenance stuff we got to do, but first we're going to install a subwoofer. This is a amp and sub combo that I got from a buddy. I had planned on getting some smaller ones to go under the seat, but my buddy sold me this one really cheap that I couldn't pass it up. So yeah, we're going to go with that. It is a 15-inch subwoofer, so should be banging pretty good.
I don't think that's a 15, dude.
What do you... Of course it is.
That's got to be like... It's got to be like at least a 6.
Dude, hold on. See, just like I said, it's a 10-inch subwoofer.
Told you it was a 10.
And then we got a wiring kit, so we'll go ahead and get started on that. Hey man, just cut it, man. Started running some of the wiring. I wanted to show this just because I know it's a pain to find places to route wiring, especially bigger, larger gauges through the firewall, especially in like a completely factory car like this that has everything under the dash. So just want to show anybody that hasn't done this, like me. I did go through the wheel well, which I was really hoping that would work out, so that's awesome it did. I'll show you exactly the routing. Hopefully you can see it. So I know it's kind of looped here to get to the fuse, so if I need to pull it out I can work on it. It's going right through this grommet where the ABS sensor goes through. It pokes out there. I'm going to run all the wiring up and over around this fender liner to give it a little protection. And then I was lucky enough, found this little grommet here, which is that guy, poked a hole in it and gave us access. All right, so it pops out right about there, and we'll run it all the way across the door sill. We got another remote wire we got to run with that, and then the RCA cables we run on the opposite side so we don't get any unwanted noise and whatnot. So we'll get that stuff hooked up to the stereo, and then we just got to run it to the back and get it hooked up to the sub. That took way longer than expected. Everything is routed back to the trunk now. Power, remote wire, RCA cables. Got a ground down there. Got super lucky. There's a stud, I think, to hold the tools or something, but I took the spare tire out because it doesn't work on this car because it's 4-lug, and I might put it back in just to try to wedge the sub in there so it doesn't rattle, but everything is pretty much back together. Say pretty much. Maybe get to the interior, but we'll get to that later. There's something else we got to do in there. So just got to hook up the sub and can listen to this thing. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so wiring is super easy. It comes with this connector. You got power, ground, remote, and you just kind of shove them in there, screw them down, plug it in the sub, and then hook up your remote wires. Super easy. right, with the sub working, we can move on to other things. One thing I can say, not a big stereo guy, never have been. I think it's my second system ever put in, but make sure your battery's charged before you start trying to mess with it. Tried to run down an issue, and it was all because the battery was not charged enough to turn the sub on. Whatever. That's whatever. We got it fixed. The trunk area, I'm gonna have to address at another time. I have an idea what I want to do, but we need to move on to other things. Get this thing back on the road. We've got fluids to change in the rear end, the T-case, oil, and we have a radiator to install. Mine's kind of beat up. It's having some cooling issues, so I'm hoping that'll fix it. If not, at least that's a good starting point because mine's pretty bad. Needs replaced. So I'm going to start with that, see if that helps. If not, go on to something else to fix that cooling issue. But that, and then we also need to install this oil drain from Morrison Fab. Same thing that we kind of did on the Colt, but this is for a stock turbo. So it's just a couple different fittings. Nothing major, same install, but I want to do it now since we're draining the oil. So we need to get into that stuff. We need to get the car turned around so we can actually work on it. Yeah, let's go do that. That's a bubble wrap. Oh, put this filter on. This is such a piece of shit. Probably why it leaked. There's no way to get a wrench up there. Fluids are drained, parts pulled off, so we are ready to install the new parts and put in some new fluids. So first thing, I want to go over some of the stuff we're putting in. Like I said, we have the Morrison Fab oil drain kit. Once again, does not come with gaskets. I know it might be repetitive, but if anybody else hadn't seen the video with the Colt, we'll just go over it real quick. And it is a little different from the kit I got for my PTE turbo. This is for a factory Mitsubishi turbo. So this, right out of the gate, I noticed this this fitting's a little different. It's a little longer tube that goes on there, and it still does have, if you can see, it kinks off a little bit to the right there to get a little clearance on the turbo. And then this guy, it kicks up just a little, so that'll go on the pan just like that and kick up towards this other fitting. And then you get a piece of hose. I'm assuming this one's probably cut to length this time, but we'll see. We'll see if we need to make a little trim or something like that. We're replacing this old AN drain that was leaking. I'm assuming because I couldn't get this thing tightened up by the turbo. It gets really tight in there on a factory turbo, and I actually forgot about that. So it's in a factory car, it's really difficult to get to. So yeah, that'll make it a little bit easier, I hope. The last thing is a radiator. Can't find an OEM radiator at all for these cars. I did find this unit on eBay. It's a PBI. Never heard of them, but it looks like a factory radiator. All the intakes are like this copper, metal, whatever you call those. It is for an auto, so it has the fittings out here, which we won't use. So that shouldn't be a big deal. We got to put in our temp sensor. And it should just drop right in, I hope. And then got some new OEM radiator hoses, some new old stock. So with that, let's go ahead and start getting this stuff installed. Ah, shit. This for a 10-second shot. Water wetter, important. And one thing I did want to show real quick is the old radiator. I didn't show damage on this thing. It is all blown out and separated. Looks like it's getting some corrosion or leak in there. So, needed replaced. And if you're getting a replacement, good luck. It seems like the auto Galant radiators are going to be the thicker ones. If you order one for a VR4, this is what you get. It's about half the thickness of an OEM radiator. So beware of that. Finding any radiator for this car has been a task. I know there's options like running a Scirocco. I didn't want to do that because I want to retain AC, and I don't know how well that'd work being a 3/4 radiator. So I got lucky on this unit, even though it is a China one and kind of fits kind of goofy, but we'll see. Hopefully that fixes our issues, our cooling issues, and don't have any more issues. So there's another couple options. The Evo 3 option you can put in, and takes a little modification, which I didn't really want to do. If it comes down to it, I can maybe get an aluminum one. I think I saw an aluminum one that's like $1,000. I didn't want to spend $1,000 on a radiator, that's for sure. So hopefully we'll go with this. If this doesn't work, then maybe Evo 3 aluminum radiator. We'll see if we can maybe do something with that if it comes down to it. But for now, we got that guy. Let's get back into it, see how this get this thing started, see how she works. Took the car for a bit of a cruise just to double check, make sure everything was good on the car. The temps, I didn't expect them to do anything crazy because it was just 70 degrees out. Usually it ran pretty good anyways. The temps did seem a little bit better, and actually since then, in a 90-degree day, the temps are way lower than they have been. So safe to say that radiator did fix our issue. So once we confirmed that, headed over to the car wash to get all the winter dust knocked off of her and get it shined up so we can cruise up to Muncie Dragway for the Whole Shot Media drag series. Went up there to hang out and watch our friends go some rounds and get some TVs, hang out and have a good time. I'm going to give it a couple seconds because I got to edit it. All right, before we get into some of this, actually, that fucking doesn't work. Shit. Welcome back to CSM TV. We're working on the 1992 Mitsubishi Galant VR4. One of one. Having some cooling issues, so hopefully that... I fucking hate Harleys.